Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. My name's Max, CEO of Smith & Sons. Good to have you with us and looking forward to another quick piece of information that hopefully is going to blow your mind, but we will see. Just a bit of a heads up on the weekend. We had a bunch of our franchise general contractors come together for our awards night, and it was a great time of awards, a little bit of drinking, and a whole lot of rock and roll and dancing. So I think it was a good time had by all. Look, today I want to just quickly talk about something. I want to actually create a bit of a takeaway. Always want to bring value and always want something that you can use straight away, or something that might change the way you think about your business or think about the way you do business. A lot of stuff we talk about is mindset. And, that's super important as well. But what I want to do is I want to just quickly shed some light as quickly as I can, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and just deep dive as much as we can as it relates to the way we do sales. Now, if you're in Australia and or New Zealand, having listened to this, I know for a fact that most of the work down there is fixed price contracts. Very infrequently or not very often you would use cost plus contracts. However, the fact that I'm based here in British Columbia in Canada and also in the States, they use a lot of the cost plus contracts. Now, that was a bit foreign to me when I came here, but it turns out it might be a little bit advantageous because of the way that we utilize fixed price contracts over cost plus contracts and how there's a lot of benefit to the clients when you sell it right. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about, and if I hands up all those who get paid to present a quote or to do the work and get paid to quote. Well, I would say without having to see your face or your hands, I would pretty much be sure that not a lot of you get paid to quote. So for those that already do, you might want to just tap on the next episode. But for those who are saying, yes, Max, I've been in this game for 10, 15, 20 years and I never get paid to quote, I would love to know your secret. So here we go. Essentially what we do is we focus on developing rapport with clients. A relationship building process is what it takes. The other flip side to that is you've also got to be able to demonstrate value. And so there's no good just putting your foot down and going, right, from today, I've got to go get paid to quote, because you're not going to be able to do it. There's a package, there's a method of delivery, and there's a way that you go about doing this that obviously, if you are successful and you break through in this area, it's because you've been able to deliver something of value. So as much as I sit here and I want to, if you're going to take the time out and either listen or watch these, videos or podcasts, listen to these podcasts, you do so because there's something that you perceive there's value to be had. Now, basically, to be able to get paid to quote, which is kind of a crude term that we don't use, you're going to have to be a little more creative and you're going to have to work a little bit harder. However, you're going to get rewarded for that effort. Your knowledge, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, your knowledge and experience is worth something. And I know all heads are nodding. Yes, Max, I get that. I just don't know how to convert or monetize that. So this is what we're going to do. So if we're going to do that, we've got to understand some of the fundamentals. It's all about science and psychology. When it comes to selling, selling is easy when you know how. And so we're going to talk about everything from let's call it the first phone call right through to the fixed price building contract. Now, if you're like Max, I know nothing about how to sell or set up or quote for a fixed price building contract. We might have to cover that off in another story. Or another episode, but if you want that, I want you to leave me some comments, or you can send me an email at max@businessforbuilders.ca. You could even text me at 250-241-8866, and we'll see what we can do to help. But we will, if you want that, text Max. I need to know about fixed price building contracts and how you estimate, because that's always a scary part. People or GCs will say to me, well, Max, how do you do a fixed price building contract for a reno? There's so many unknown quantities. I'm like, my friend, I get that. I've heard that 100 times. I understand. But there is a way and a means. So we'll cover that on another episode. Note to self. But today we're going to chat about from the first phone call right through to the fixed price building contract. Right. So you've done a whole bunch of marketing. You've got a great marketing message and the phone is ringing off the hook. I know it is. And what you have to do is figure out whether or not. Now, a lot of guys or gals might be happy just to go and talk to someone all the time. Me personally, we want to set the bar where you might be only interested in projects over 100,000. Now, if you're just doing straight new homes, obviously your minimum project threshold is going to be upwards of 350 anywhere to 2 million, depends on what sort of client base you're trying to reach. But today we're talking about renos, and so we might be talking about average contracts around 100,000. So if you don't want to do any of the smaller stuff like washrooms and things like bathrooms and whatnot, then you are going to disqualify a lot of your incoming leads pretty quickly. But let's say you were open to doing bathrooms and kitchens, and a lot of the time we get people that want to do kitchen, bathroom, or a master bathroom and kitchen at the same time, sometimes a bathroom and an ensuite, which is always the most cost-effective way of doing it. So what we want to do is just demonstrate maybe what we do on a first phone call. And usually knowing full well that, I come from a little bit of experience in the, leading up to that point, I don't have a problem talking to people about budgets. And this makes for a pretty good conversation and a very beneficial conversation for you if you are that way inclined. If I go from the start, and that is the initial phone call, what I want to do is I want to build rapport from the get-go. I want them, I have to deconstruct the wall of distrust. I've talked about before how that, no matter how good you look or how well you smell, they don't trust you. And it takes a lot of work to build the trust. So if I'm chatting to them about the cost of the project, I might start out by saying, hey, Mr. Homeowner, I've never done a bathroom from under 20 grand. I guarantee you it's very uncommon for them to agree and go, oh, sure, that's what I expected. Most of the time they're like, whoa, I would have cost a lot less. And basically, if they do ask me that question, I might say, well, how did you come up with the research? What research did you do to come up with that? And so it's always an interesting conversation. But the other reason is because once I've broken the ice as far as price is concerned, then it's a point where I'm always looking for the disqualification flag, the red flag. We always talk about red flags. And so we want to find out who is worthy of our time. I know when I was, operating as a Smith & Sons general contractor in Brisbane, I quoted everybody. Anyone that came in and asked for a quote, anybody that contacted the office and asked for a quote, I would give a quote because I didn't do this on the phone. And so I think I'm super passionate about chatting with people, finding out what's important to them, make it important to me. And some things that I, might talk about will be around, the practical aspect as far as, is it functional? What does it look like? And, obviously we have to talk about the financial constraints of the operation. If I get a reasonably good vibe, and I would absolutely promote that you trust your gut, because you really, if you walk out of it and you think, yeah, these people aren't the ones, or, you get off the phone going, I don't think these people are the ones, then you need to sort of listen to that and just see what happens. Now, never prejudge. I know one guy, particularly in the business, he's always optimistic around, we might get a small inquiry for $3,000 or $4,000. We will send it to him because we don't vet the calls or vet the leads. They've got to do that. And then what he does is he actually is really good at upselling. So he converted I think it was a $1,500 kitchen sink, and he's into there for $33,000 now. So you never can underestimate. If you're looking at those small jobs, then that is definitely where you can make a small fish sweet even sweeter. And so, never, I think, be optimistic, but then don't be foolish and go and invest all your time in a situation whereby there's never any hope. And you need to discern as to whether or not these people are players or whether they're pretenders. So when I go to a meeting, I ask a lot of questions, and I got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I use it that way to start with. And we just chat about, this is the first initial site visit. And the purpose of being in that meeting is to really get eyeballs on both the client and the project. And so really, I think at all times I'm looking to either qualify or disqualify. Essentially, we'll get, the leads that we get in either on a monthly basis or quarterly or yearly. What you'll find is that 50% of those leads will go out the window. You will disqualify them fairly quickly, either in the first phone call or the initial, meet and greet. They will go out the window because they just don't work out, whether it's financial, whether it's your choice to get rid of them and eject them out of your system. But then the remaining 50%, if your conversion rate is on point, and you should be converting, I would say 70% of those remaining 50%, that's what we do. Because you've really created a good balance. You've gotten rid of, let's say, the deadwood, and you've got some real players. And that really comes down to how you qualify both. I'll actually, you know what, the whole way through. You can get some people that are really good on the phone, showing good positive signs. You can get them good in the initial meet and greet, great. But then after that, the wheels fall off the wagon. So what we do then what I'm trying to do is always build rapport. Now, it's going to take between, let's say, 8 and 12 touch points. So I don't care whether that's a site visit, a phone call or email, a text message. What you've got to do is you've really got to find an excuse to communicate because people don't make a decision off the first meeting. If you are the kind of person that takes a phone call, goes and does one meeting, presents a quote, and then asks for the business, it's like meeting a gal in a bar and having a drink and then going for the one night stand move. If that's the way you're running your building contracting business right now, that's why you're losing. That's why you're converting jobs at a lower profit margin. That is why you're not working for the clients that you want to work for. Because you're not patient and you're not understanding the power of empathy in the sales process. So the reason why we do that, like for me, the average gestation period for a franchise is somewhere between 3 and 9 months. It can take me up to 9 months or more to do a deal for a franchise because general contractors take time to make decisions. There's a lot of changes that go on and they need space. Now, some don't. I've done some pretty quick deals in 30 to 45 days. These people have been ready to make decisions, no problem. But for those that want to take a little bit longer, that's fine as well. So, you know, you've really got to look at where you can include those touch points. So I always want to be conversing and communicating and collaborating with clients because I get to actually know what they're like before we go to a building contract. I mean, if you've ever gone quickly from a first visit to a quote to a contract and you've got a third of the way into the building, process and you're like, geez, I wish I never even met these people, then the reason is if you go and then look at the sales process, you'll probably, more often than not, you'll find that you rush that too much. And mostly because, probably for some selfish reasons. You just wanted to get to the money, you wanted to keep the boys busy, whatever the case may be. And so you rush the process. So, I'm all about slowing the process down. So let's say we go into the first site visit. What I'll do after this is what I'll tell them in the site visit. I'll say, what I'm going to do is I've done some measurements. Now, I always get photographs. I actually run a little bit of a video, usually with my phone, and then I'll get some measurements as well. Pictures, video, measurements. And then if I have to, I've got the data to then go and start putting a bit of a plan together. I know a lot of my guys use Magic Plan. You should check that out. It's not perfect, but they find that fairly reliable to go and put together, layouts and things like that. And so you need to grab that data on the first visit. Then what I'll do is if I can't give them an exact budget number right there on the spot, a lot of the time I can. What I'll do is I say to them, look, I've got a fairly good idea of what you want. Your budget indication that you gave me is probably a little bit light. Now, in some cases, it might be on point. If you think it's within the range, then say that. Look, I think your budget expectation is within range. Then you might say, but what I'll do is I'm just going to take it home overnight. I'll come back to you via email. Now, we never email proposals, but what I do for the interest of time is I will put on an email the next day. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. Great to meet with you yesterday. It was good to catch up and discuss your project requirements. Please find the following details and a little bit of a price range as it relates to, your scope and the cost included. And I will literally write them a 2-paragraph email, which will include a price range. So let's say it was a kitchen. I might say to them, look, that kitchen with, stone countertops is between 45 and 60 grand or whatever. And then I'll say, well, this is what's included. It's laminate cupboard doors or whatever the case is. And it's these kind of stone tops. Now, what I'm doing with that, understand I've done one phone call, always looking to disqualify. I've done one site visit, always looking to disqualify. All the way through, I want to talk about budget, their budget expectation. And then when I get into the estimate, what I'm trying to fish out now is I'm right on the cusp of, if they say, look, Max, 45 to 60 is a little bit more than what I had envisaged. We would like to keep it at the low end of the scale. But it's where we're sort of where we're at. And I think, where to next, Max? And I love it when clients say to me, what do we do next? Right. So the next thing, and this is where it's going to probably radically change the way you do business. What I say to them is this is where I promote what we call a quantity takeoff service. Now, when I've got someone who I've walked them through the first phone call, the site visit, I've explained on email a little bit about the scope and the price range, guys. Now, this is what I would do. Now we jump into our estimating software and we would create categories and then line items, and then I would automatically come up with a budget. Now, to me, to do a kitchen, it wouldn't take me long to put together what I would call a broad estimate. And let's say it was 45 grand. Get down the bottom, our markup percentages included, bang. There's our baseline. What I would then is I would add 30% to create that price range. So if it was 45,000, by the time I did everything, all the demo and the replumb and the new electrical and floor coverings and paint and stone tops and even to do the backsplash, what I would do is I would then put 30% on top of that. So you're going to add, a few, you can add over 10 grand, 13,000, whatever it is. So what it means is then when I go to them and they say, well, Max, look, that's about where we are. What you're going to do now is we talk to our clients and say, look, because that cost plus contracts are most common, what we don't do is cost plus, we do fixed price. Now, we just pivot here for a second. The reason we do fixed price is to create peace of mind, security, and obviously satisfaction. So what we're doing now is we're not selling construction services, we're selling peace of mind, security, and satisfaction. So if you can understand some of the psychology and then you can really underpin that with the science of how we estimate, and if you don't know how to estimate, then you're going to have some trouble and you're going to struggle. But once we talk to them about this is what we do. So essentially what we include is the exact number that it's going to cost, the list of specifications and inclusions, and then the duration of the project, and we might speculate as to a start date and when the finish date might be. Now, that's fairly uncommon here. Like I said, if you're in Australia right now, that's you'll be looking at me like I've got horns and claws because most everything that we do is fixed price contract. But in saying that, even if you do, and you're going from the first phone call to a site visit to a quote to wanting to go to contract, and you're not getting paid to quote, then you'll still benefit from this as well. The guys that are on cost plus, I'm not sure what you're going to do because you can pretty much have a meeting and then just go to town. But I'm telling you the struggles to pivot again, you get under construction, and I know that the last payment, for you guys that do cost plus, the last payment is always the most tragic one to get out of people. That's where the shit fight's going to occur. So we do a lot of building the rapport, and we do a lot of the hard work up front so that at the back end, getting the last check and signing off on the job, doing a walkthrough, a very minimal deficiencies list, and a very happy client that's wanting to do a testimonial, video testimonial. It's very easy to track down. And if you check out smithandsons.ca, you will see quite a few video of our client testimonials. And that is exactly what we're striving for. And we teach our general contractors why we do that, and then how to do that, turn them into raving fans. So once you've got clients with an email and they've got an agreement, they're saying, well, Max, the 45 to 60 is looking about right. What I would then say to them, I say, right, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, this is what I want to do. I want to nail down exactly what the inclusions are on your project. That'll help me construct a definite price, which we will never move on. That is the price unless you go to change order during construction. And then we can calculate off the back of our Gantt chart within the software how long the project's going to take. And let's say job's under 100 grand. This job in question, 45 to 60, I would say that's going to be about $500. Now, where you're playing in an ecosystem like we are, where it's mostly cost plus, to be able to offer fixed price for $500, people jump at that. I've got guys in the business that it's blown their mind. This is the first time in one guy's, 30-year career that he's ever been paid to do anything that resembles a quote. Other than that, he was only getting paid to do the work. So this has blown his mind, and he's sold several $1,000s worth of these quantity takeoff services. Now, the reason people transact, and this goes back to where I started, your knowledge and experience has value. So when you are demonstrating the value, transactions happen as a natural consequence of delivering value. Now, if you're so speedy at going from the first phone call to the site visit to the quote, it's because you've not given yourself the opportunity to demonstrate value. Matter of fact, you've just stepped over a lot of the things that can help demonstrate the value. And so when we say to people, and we build a thing called a selection sheet. So when we do the estimate, we're able to pick out the things that need the clients to specify. So things like countertops, wall paint, floor coverings, backsplash tiles, all of those sorts of things. We will actually build the selection sheet while we're building the estimate. Now, again, we don't want to go into too much detail in the estimate if we're not going to go to the project, and particularly if we're not going to get paid to quote. So we want to put that detail together and present that to the client once they paid us for the quantity takeoff service. And we get them to pay that up front. I know one guy, actually I just got word today that one was sold for $1,250. And I think that was a $340,000 renovation. So, what I would strongly suggest is that you don't go specifically to cover your hours. What you're getting is a token for the work that you're going to put in. Now, if you did a quote and you got paid $1,200 and it took you 10 hours all up, it's not a bad hourly rate, right? And it's probably 100% better than what you're getting currently. And the other thing I want to urge, why we do what we do, and this guy knows that now that this client has paid him $1,250 to do a quantity takeoff service on this $340,000, because the client wants a fixed price quote, he knows the power that once that client has transacted at a low level, it's very likely that that client will transact with that builder at a higher level. Does that make sense? If you transact at a low level, now they're demonstrating their trust in you, the general contractor. And so this is now, more psychology around. So we're coupling together the science of sales and the psychology of sales, and we are demonstrating value because transactions happen as a natural consequence of value. Now, if you're to that point, then it's just a matter of going forward. I think you don't want to be one of those guys that said, well, it was 45 to 60 and then you come in at 85. You've really done unless you've got a justifiable reason and the clients know about it, that it is over. But if there has been no communication as it relates to a jump or a bump in price, delivering that you're going to get what we call price reveal shock. And it's really going to derail all the hard work that you've done. And so, what we want to do is be talking to clients all the way through. And if I have a client ring me and says, Max, I know that we talked about post-form laminate tops, but what I want to do is I actually want to step up to countertops that are stone. Now, I might say to Mr. and Mrs. Homer, I'm saying, look, okay, well, there's going to be a jump of between $5,000 and $7,500. Is that you're prepared to sort of, incur that extra cost? And like, Max, yep, we're convinced we want to do the stone tops. And so I move them ahead. Now, what I would do further to that conversation is I would send them an email. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, great talking to you. I've taken notes on your file as it relates to your request today on the phone about going from post-form laminate tops up to stone tops. As we discussed, that's going to increase the cost of this project from between $5,000 and $7,500. I know you're okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and include that, ready for our final proposal. Have a great day. And I think that, again, that's a touch point, right? So what I'm doing is this backwards and forwards. They're getting a feel for this Max character builder guy. Because remember, you're deconstructing the wall of distrust. Slowly but surely, they are going to start to trust you a little more. Now, to get that quantity takeoff service fee is where I'd say is like you've done pretty well. You've built the trust, they understand the value, and they're ready to transact. That's great. Now you've got to carry on. You've got to go through the process of obviously building the estimate as best you can in your software, making sure that you're building the selection sheet on the fly, but you must get on the selection sheet as quickly as possible because it could take them on a larger project, could take them weeks, if not months, to be able to make those selections. Now, once you get those selections back, you will then introduce the make, the model, the color, the style, the type, all of the micro detail that goes into each of those selections. That will now go into the estimate. And that will then, obviously, you can reach out to your vendors and suppliers and subcontractors or whoever and finalize those prices with a high level of security. And then at that point, once you're sort of moving that way, now you're ready for the proposal. And so all of the rapport building that you've done leading up to the moment where you're ready to present the proposal, all of that rapport building you're going to need to take to the bank to really close the deal with these clients. Even though they now appear like they trust you, even though you've got the exchange for the quantity takeoff fee, even though they're now ready to sit down with the proposal and it's within their price range, you still haven't got the deal done. Okay, but it's highly likely that if you've walked this amount of path, you've really had the opportunity to figure out and disqualify them at some level as to whether or not they're actually going to work and you're going to be able to work with them. So then when you present the proposal, it shouldn't be a price reveal. You need to go and demonstrate all of the valuable parts of the proposal. You need to ensure that they understand with a high level of clarity. You need to make sure that you haven't left anything out. You always refer back to the selection sheet. And then you can, obviously move to the back page, which is normally where the price is. And right there and then they should be able to go, well, that's what Max said he was going to charge me. Okay, it's 51,000 or it's 55,000, but we did add the stone tops in. So it's kind of, it's in the ballpark. And at that point, it's if you're feeling it, and this is where your intuition kicks in, if you're feeling it, you can ask for that deal. You should be able to say, well, it looks like we've really knocked this out of the park. We've got all the specifications and inclusions taken place. What would you like me to do next? Would you like me to prepare the paperwork because my start dates are filling up? But I can start you 1st of next month, which is about 3 weeks away. How do you feel about that? More often than not, they're going to say yes, or they're going to give you a provisional yes. They might say, yeah, Max, but and you should know this already. You need to be able to guarantee me, Max, that you're going to have it finished by July 1st. Is that going to happen? Or they might say, look, if you can get the countertops on time, the color we want or whatever, we're happy to sort of, get started with you. They're sort of look for the buying questions. They'll say yes after you've answered that buying question. And so they might say something like, Max, so you're telling me that you're going to be able to finish by July 1. That's a buying question. The minute you can, and don't bullshit them. If you're saying, yeah, we can absolutely do that, that might be just the last thing that they need to hear to then move forward into the contract. So, look, there is a lot of head screw going on. If you want to do it this way and you want to get paid to quote, if you want to not get paid to, assemble the price essentially, and this is where your knowledge and experience is worth something, then just keep doing it the way you're doing it. However, the way that we recommend is to work through an initial phone call, always be looking, to qualify, sort the players from the pretenders, do that on the site visit as well, dig in more deeply into the price and what it's going to cost, in a bit of a price rangey sense, and then obviously move closer to, defining the scope. Do that on an email, put it in dot point format, put the price range down, and then what you want to do is follow them up after that. And then you want to move to the quantity takeoff service and say, this is the service that we provide to get exactly nailed down exactly what it's going to cost, what you're going to get, and when it's going to be finished by. And then when you work through that process, make sure that it's not a price reveal, and you should find yourself increasing the amount of conversions that you do after you start working the process that way. So if you've got any questions, hit me up, put some comments below. You can email me, like I said, max@businessforbuilders.ca. You can text me at 250-241-8866, and we will respond to you as quickly as we can. Have a great day. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode.